Okay,
Will
so
we start first?
okay. So is my voice audible?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. So my team and I, so we have Arkan and Gaby. We decided to do an analysis on the Android apps market in Google Play. Right. So why do we do this, and why do we pick Google Play Store? So as we know, the rising popularity of mobile operating system has given rise in the exponential growth of the mobile application known as apps, and these apps can actually be downloaded on our mobile devices through the App Store. And as far as I'm concerned, or as far as we've researched, there are two app store that are the most popular. The first one is Google Play Store, and the second one is the iPhone App Store. However, the Google Play Store has maintained its position as the leading mobile operating system worldwide in January 2021, with 72% of the global market share. And one of the factors for this is that the 72% of the existing apps are all free. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to generate insights from the properties of the app, and hence we'd like to gain a comprehensive understanding regarding the condition of the market, and thus lead us to devise strategies that drive growth and retention. And next, we're going to talk about how do we do the analysis, or the steps or the flow of the analysis. First, we collect the data sets from the secondary source, and then we initially clean and pre-process the data so that it makes easier for us to do the analysis, and then we perform the exploratory data analysis. So collecting the data set. Firstly, we have a CSV file called the apps.csv, and this actually contains information about the applications that we collected from the dataset. And there are about 9,659 applications, and there are 13 features that are recorded in the datasets. And these include app, which is basically the name of the application, category, which is the category of the application, rating, the user rating, and reviews, the reviews of the application, size, the file size of the application, installs, the number of downloads or installed application, and type, the type of the application, whether it's free of charge or at cost, and price, the price of the application if it's at cost, content rating, the category of the application user, genres, the genre of the application last updated, the date in which the application was lastly updated, current version, the current version of the application, and Android which is the Android version in which the application runs on. So this datasets was actually recorded in .csv, but we open it in Excel, and it was automatically converted into table. Next, we have the user's review, and we have about 64,295 reviews in the datasets, and there are 5 features that are available. The first one is app, which is the same one as the one in the app dataset, and we have review, basically the user review of the application, and then we have the sentiment, determining whether the sentiment of the application is positive, neutral, or negative, or none. And then we have polarity, which is basically the measure of sentiment polarity of the application. And then we have also sentiment subjectivity, which is the measure of sentiment subjectivity of the application. And again, combining this data set with the previous data set, we can actually compare the market prevalence between the apps, free apps and paid apps, and we can also perform sentiment analysis on the 2 types of apps. Next, I'm going to pass on to Gabriela to talk about the data cleaning and pre-processing.
Okay, so now we will move on the data cleaning and pre-processing next. So there are 4 features that we will be working with most frequently, like the install, size, rating, and price. Here we want to check like the type of the columns and using the info function. And it tells us that the installs and price columns are of type object and not integer or float, as we would expect, because installs is the number of that application has been installed by the users, and the price obviously we would expect it to be numeric. So this might be because in prices there are the dollar sign, and in the installs there are like the comma and the plus sign. So in order to be able to change the type of the column, we have to remove these special characters first. And then next. And then moving on to the exploratory data analysis, the first one that we want to explore is the app categories. So to improve the overall search experience, Google has introduced us the concept of grouping apps into categories. And this brings us to the following question: which category has the highest share of active apps in the market? Is any specific category dominating the market? And which categories have the fewest number of apps? So according to our research, we have found that there are 33 unique app categories present in our dataset, with family and game apps have the highest market prevalence. And interestingly, tools, business, and medical apps are also at the top. And the beauty category have the fewest number of apps. Next. So the next one is the distribution of app rating. So after having witnessed the market share for each category of apps, let's see how all these apps performs on an average. App rating on a scale of 1 to 5 impact the discoverability, conversion of app, as well as the app a company's overall brand image. Ratings are a key performance indicator of an app. From our research, we have found that the average volume of rating across all app categories is 4.17324, and the histogram plot is skewed to the right, indicating that the majority of the apps are highly rated, with only a few exceptions in the low-rated app. Now let's examine the app size and app price. For size, if the mobile app is too large, it may be difficult and or expensive for users to download, and the long duration of download and installing process may turn users off before they actually experience using the app. Also, the user's device has a finite amount of disk space. For price, some users expect their apps to be free and inexpensive. And now what we want to know is, does the size of an app affect its rating? Does the price of an app affect its rating too? Do users really care about system-heavy apps, or do they prefer light-weighted apps? And lastly, do users always prefer free apps over paid apps? So from the graph, we find that the majority of top-rated apps, like the rating of over 4, range from about 2 megabytes to 20 megabytes. So like the smaller the size, the higher the possibility of its top-rated app. And for the price and rating graph, we also find that the vast majority of apps price themselves just under $10. So next will be continued by Arkan.
Okay, thank you, KB. So now I'm going to explain about the relation between app category and app price. In this case, there are many factors to consider when selecting the right pricing strategy about apps. It is important to consider the willingness of the customer to pay the app. A wrong price could break the deal before even the download happens. Potential customer could be turned off by what they perceive to be a shocking cost, or they might delete an app they've downloaded after receiving too many ads or not getting the money's worth. Uh, this is the graph after we did the processing, and there are some anomalies that we found out in the price in the apps with price about $400. And apparently after searching the table, on the left we have the list of the app that cost around $400. Now, these apps in the left picture is an example of what we know of what we call a junk apps. Hence, the next steps we will filter out the junk apps. Next, after filtering the junk apps, now we can see clearly that the distribution of the app pricing is now rated under under $20. Okay, next. Now we were going to talk about popularity of paid apps versus free apps. In the Play Store, there are five pricing categories, five pricing strategies with free, freemium, paid, premium, and subscription. In this case, we are going to focus on free and paid apps only. So as we can see, in the blue one is the paid one and the red one is the free one. Of course, the free one is having more download than the paid one, with median around 100,000 times download, while the paid one is around 1,000 times download. Next. Now, a sentiment analysis of user reviews is actually about the sentiment about the apps that we've downloaded. The point is that it's about satisfaction about customers about the app. In this case, we review it by positive or negative comment that the apps get. Okay, for example, the free app, we can see that the median is around 0 point something, which is actually get a positive review, but there are also not a lot, but some negative review, as you can see in the point in the negative values, while the paid app get much more positive reviews in this case. I think that's my presentations.
Okay, thank you very much. And that's the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. So I will share my screen. Wait. Okay, thank you for the first team for presenting the good data that we will use for the analysis, from Java groups. So what I note from your presentation, the first is, I think you already have a clear goals for your analysis. So I think it's not just for for data set or exploratory data analysis. I think we have potential to do some advanced analytics in the next process of our courses. So I think you have a good goals on it. And the second is about the data set. Do you know about how much the size of data that you has collected?
Yes, sir. I did explain that for the apps, we have around 9,600.
Okay.
9,659, and as for the reviews, we have, let me just have a check, 64,295.
Okay. So how you collect the data?
It's from a secondary source, and they directly scrap the data from Google Play.
Okay, so this is like secondary source, but directly collected from the Google Store.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
nice one. So you need to mention that source is there, so we can clear that the data is came from some sources. And then
Yep.
the good one is your feature. Actually, you already have a 13 attribute that you explained before, and then you have a 3 type of the specific data attribute, which is integers, and then the object, and also the float. So it is like it is showing you what the characteristic about your data set. So that's cool things. And the nice one is about your exploratory data analytics. You successfully show to me about what your exploration about exploratory data analysis. Yeah. So from the apps category, that's I think is good approach to show the summary, and then the distribution is quite good actually, because you can see the distribution of the ratings. Yeah. And also the size and price apps is also something that cool that we can see. Yeah. And then you also say about the relation, and then what I am very interested about why you filtering the junk apps. What the reasons?
Okay, so I think as we know, in the Google Apps market, not all of the apps are for the benefits of the user. Some of the developers just maybe quite cheeky and trying to gain as much income from the user, even though the app that they develop may not have some specific objective or might even be a scam. And hence we thought that any apps beyond the price of $200, we assume that is a scam, because it kind of doesn't make sense, considering that the name of the app's also kind of fishy, because it's I'm rich pro, blah blah blah. It doesn't really make sense. I mean, we have softwares that might cost thousands of dollars, like probably Final Cut Pro, but that has specific objective, and the name for the software is also sensible. Whereas in this data set, we know that any software beyond the price of $200, first one, the name becomes insensible, and also we thought that it might just be the fact that the developers are trying to trap the customers to pay for more apps, because as we know in the sentiment analysis, the customers have better sentiment for paid apps. So maybe some customers think that paying more for the apps will gain them better benefits in the long-term run.
Okay. So when we related with the sentiment analysis that you show me, is there any the junk food that junk apps that have positive sentiment analysis, or in other way is negative, or just you filter it and then there is no okay.
Yeah, so before we actually did the sentiment analysis, we already filtered the junk files first. But we know that it's very possible that even if we don't filter it, we'll still have the same sort of sentiment analysis, or possibly the sentiment analysis for the paid apps would drop even below the free apps, because it might just be a scam. So
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Okay. Excellent for this thing. I think is I agree. This is a good to write down in your report, and then you just need to give some more detailed explanation in the several points that I mentioned before. Thank you very much, Dava and teams, for the presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Yeah.